insights, lessons, and a ton of stuff that I learned by reading 100 plus, productivity blogs, articles, books, everything put together. So I'm going to be summarizing all of the stuff that I've read about productivity in 10 short lessons. So we're going to structure this in two aspects. One is the doing aspect of things, and one are the intangible aspect that contribute to productivity. So what are the differences? I'll cover them as I go through this video. So first, the doing aspect. So these are things that when you come to your work desk or when you're doing things day to day, these are things that you need to act on, and this is what are popularly known as the hacks, right? So I'm going to be speaking around 6 of them, around hacks, and I'm also going to cover the 4 non-tangible aspects. These are not stuff that you need to do, but you need to take care of yourself in a way so that you can stay productive. So let's get started with the first one. The most revealing lesson that I learned is called never ever multitask. So the idea of productivity I had for a very, very long time was, hey, I'm doing, let's say, writing a script for my video. Oh, okay, let me just check my phone for a couple of minutes. Oh, okay, let me just get an errand at home done. Or probably let me just reply to the email. And by the time I come back to writing my script, which was the original thing that I started my day with, I would have probably lost all the context, and my brain and my my body is going to use a lot more power to kind of start zooming in. So multitasking is the biggest myth to getting more things done. So if you're someone who's thinking multitasking is good for you, it's never the case. In fact, I've made a separate video on what happens and the scientific reasons and lessons that I've learned on why you shouldn't be multitasking. I can probably link in the description or somewhere here. So do look at it. So never ever multitask. So this is the first lesson that's been very, very consistent across all the blogs, books, articles, podcasts, and everywhere that I've listened or read about productivity. Second one, have a focus of the day, or have your top priorities for the day sorted. So this is again, certain people work on a highlight of the day, certain people work on having the top 3 priorities sorted, certain people say, hey, do one thing for yourself, one for your family, and one thing at work, so that way you're balancing everything out. But the crux of all this is to have something that you focus on. So when you start your day, hey, if I'm going to accomplish this one thing or these set of 2 or 3 things, I would call this a good day, right? Because more often than not, if we end up thinking too low of ourselves, or we keep thinking that we aren't doing enough because we never have a guardrail of what a successful day would look like. So I would really suggest to try this technique if you're someone who's always dissatisfied at the end of your day, to have your priorities sort at the start of your day. So that is the second thing that I really learned. Third one, have your deep work hours, right? So this is something that again I love, something that everyone recommends and is proven to kind of skyrocket your productivity and the kind of output that you're able to produce when you're deep working. So I usually prefer to have my deep work hours in the morning, predominantly because I don't have a lot of distractions. I control my day in the morning, and I don't kind of have checked my emails and things like that. So before I go to sleep, I kind of decide what I need to be doing in the first 2 or 3 hours in the morning. And during this time, I ensure that I keep my phone away. I'm disconnected with most of the distractions that I am aware of will distract me and things like that. And it keeps changing. It need not be always about let's say an office work or a personal work. It could be shooting your YouTube videos. That could account for a good 2 to 3 hours of deep work to start your day. But ensure that you're distraction free and no one is kind of disturbing you at that point of time. Which brings me to the 4th point about say more no's than you say yes. And the reason for this, because as humans we are social animals, and we tend to say yes to everything because we kind of tuned to think doing more is equal to staying productive, right? So I would, a couple of years back, I think I've quoted this example multiple times on this channel, where I would think, oh, I need to do a YouTube video. Oh my God, okay, I need to start thinking about repurposing my content. I need to start writing a blog. I need to do well at my work. I need to be social with my friends and things like that. And I end up saying yes to far too many plans than I should be actually doing. So now I've started realizing, hey, what is the trade-off? Let's say if I'm going and attending a social gathering, is it okay if I miss shooting for 2 or 3 weeks, or is it okay if I'm not doing this versus doing that? So you have to let go of that superhuman mentality of, you can accomplish many things, and start saying far more no's to things. And I'm not gonna say, hey, say yes to this, say no to that, and things like that. But it always helps if you are able to be in peace with yourself when you say no to certain kind of things, whatever that means to you. That's the fourth one. The fifth one is the Parkinson's law. So the Parkinson's law basically says work shrinks to the amount of time that you give it to yourself. So let's say writing a YouTube script, right? So with time, I've probably written 50, 60 scripts for our YouTube channel. I've kind of realized that, hey, on an average, research and all the things put together, it takes on an average 30 to 45 minutes to write a YouTube script. So I usually switch on my timer, have a distraction-free 45 minutes. I usually will be ready with one script. But there have been times where I've dedicated 1.5 hours to write the script, and guess what? It has taken 1.5 hours. And there are days where I've told, okay, I'm going to spend this whole evening writing a script, and I have taken 2 or 3 hours to write a single script. And there have been days where a single script has taken multiple days. But the output or the quality of the output has fairly remained the same. Good or bad, I'm not going to judge that. But the quality of scripts that I've come up in 45 minutes and the quality of the scripts that have come up in, like, let's say 2 or 3 hours have fairly been the same. So one of the main things that you need to do, if you think that, okay, something is going to take 30 minutes or 45 minutes, always ensure that, keep in mind that the more work you put in doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to result in a better output in most cases. So give work the right amount of time it deserves, and don't try to overdo things. Right? And then sixth one, we're going to be speaking about having a noise-free or a distraction-free environment, right? So this relates to the deep work hours that we spoke about at the start, where one of the main reasons why we're not able to consistently stay focused for long periods of hours is the amount of distraction around us. Are these evil? I'm not going to get into the debate of should you be on social media, shouldn't you be on social media, should you have your notifications on and things like that. But personally, for me, what has worked is to ensure that I am not focused on what's happening in the outside world, switching off notifications, ensuring that I have my phone in another room, and getting work done without any distraction. So let's say if I have like a big project at office coming up, it helps if I'm sitting for 3 hours just focusing on that one piece of work without multitasking, without distraction. I'm able to get far more done. So I would highly recommend for this to get a good noise cancelling headphones and put a lyric that you really don't listen to often. So I usually listen to a cafe sound or a river sound that helps me focus a lot more. So I would say have a distraction-free time in your deep work hours. So if that means switching off notifications, if that means switching off your internet and working offline, if that means keeping your phone in another room, or if that means going somewhere else and working, whatever works for you, but ensure that while you're doing your deep work, or when you're at least trying to be productive, ensure that all your notifications are switched off. So these are 6 things that you need to do. Now let's speak about the intangibles, right? So what do I call intangibles? So these are have to do with the mental and the physical aspect of productivity, which is often overlooked when we speak about getting things done. So I call it the 3S principle. So the first one in this, or the 7th tip overall, I call it the 3S, which is sunlight, sleep, and socializing. So the effects of having good sunlight early in the morning or at some part of the day is proven, and it kind of helps you lift your mood. So I would highly recommend get some sunlight. Sleep, the most important aspect to help yourself recharge, to ensure that you start your day on the right note. And socializing. So I am a big fan of, I'm not a big fan of just doing the work and not enjoying your life. I'm all for socializing with your friends, having some fun time with your family, and going with the crowd, because after all, humans are social animals and we thrive on energy from other people, and we get ideas from other people, especially if it's a like-minded people or a like-minded community. So I would say work on these 3 aspects, and maybe you will see a difference in how productive you start feeling. 7th one, don't have a very heavy meal before you do your deep work hours. And this is such an underrated thing, because most of us have these afternoon slump. Again, this is something that I read in an article where your best focus hours start in the morning, because literally you haven't put much of things in your body except for some amount of caffeine, and that helps you kind of razor sharp focus, because your body is not acting on digesting the food that you've just eaten and things like that. The moment you have some food, the body starts spending a lot more energy in digesting those food rather than helping you focus on that stuff in hand. So I would recommend to not have a lot of deep work after a heavy meal. Again, an intangible that a lot of people overlook, and personally I have failed a lot of times when I've tried to do a lot of deep work post my lunch. So that's an intangible that I would highly recommend that you start working on. So the third one is invest in apps, people and systems that will help you. So a lot of times I've seen that, you know, investing in an app that will cost you a couple of dollars or rupees, investing in outsourcing and things like that, we feel that because you know, productivity as a thing, we keep thinking that, okay, I need to get everything done and only then I am the champion in my world. And this is a voice that I struggled to silence for a very, very long time. So I would highly recommend, do the things that you're really good at and then outsource or invest in apps and systems and, you know, softwares that will help you outsource a lot of these things, and you will instantly see that your mind space is much more decluttered and you'll be able to focus on a lot more things that give you the joy. Which brings me to the last and final bit, is to enjoy what you are doing. Because, you know, if you're not enjoying what you are doing, no matter how productive you are, you're gonna feel like, sorry to say, shit at the end of the day. So, you know, maybe build awareness around what gives you the joy, what is it that makes you happy, doing what kind of things gives you happiness from within, and probably you will see that when you're investing your time, energy and you know, mind space into doing things that give you joy and happiness, you will end up doing them more and more and more. So those are my 10 tips, the 6 tips that will help you do, and the 4 intangible aspects of productivity that is often overlooked, that I have learned by reading at least 100 plus articles, blogs, podcasts and, you know, books and stuff like that. So all put together, these are my top 10 insights. Do let me know if you think you know, I should have covered something or if I've missed out on anything. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. This is Praveen Ramesh signing off.